Hey, did you see the new Google event? The Pixel 10 Pros? They look pretty good, right? Yeah, I was watching that. Look pretty sweet. Nice design, nice cameras, bunch of really interesting AI features. I'm a fan. So you finally gonna get one? Probably not. But you were just saying how good they are. Yeah, but I'm so used to the iPhone. I just don't want to switch. Like I'm used to what I got, and I'll be fine. You know. Okay, I feel like you do this every time. What's it gonna take for you to actually switch? I just don't want to switch. Like I get that the phones are great, and I can appreciate them. I'm just used to this, I guess. All right, name one reason why you couldn't switch to the Pixel right now. Okay, Face ID. It's really convenient. The Pixel has Face Unlock. Okay. Well, I can't get rid of my my wireless earbuds. You mean like Pixel Buds? MagSafe. They just added that to Pixel 10s. Widgets. Did I mention widgets? Okay, you're not gonna believe this. Oh, right. Apple Intelligence. Okay, see, now I think you're joking. I love the number 48. And so I just need to have a 48 megapixel main camera. That's the main thing. So see, I feel like you're sort of reaching, but these also have 48 megapixel cameras. So I just don't feel like it. It's valid. 2 years ago in the US, there was a survey that found that only 35% of people would be willing to switch their phone carrier to get a better deal, which might not sound that crazy, but then you think about it, that means that 65% of people, even if it meant they'd spent less money, still wouldn't switch phone carriers. So that is an example of an industry with a tremendously high perceived switching cost. Like switching carriers, most people believe is too much of a hassle, too much time and effort to actually go through with it, even if it would save them a bit of money. And so that allows carriers to get away with a little bit more because people are just not willing to switch. So anyway, the reason I bring up switching cost is I was watching this Google event this week, this spectacle of an event. And you know, besides it being a little cringy and clearly not designed to speak to me at all, I do think it was really interesting how much they directly addressed switching. So, okay, this was an event featuring Jimmy Fallon and the Jonas Brothers and a bunch of other celebrity guests like Peloton instructors and pro athletes. So they were talking to the massive general audience that is normies in the US. And what do normies in the US use? iPhones. So this is a theme that came up several times during the event, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, but it all drew attention to the fact that these smartphone companies are trying to make it as easy as possible to switch to them and make it as hard as possible to switch away from them. Take the new Pixel Journal app, for example. Google just announced the Pixel 10s, and one of the new pre-installed apps on these phones is an AI-assisted journaling app. To a lot of people, this looks like a basic copycat of that iPhone journal app that they just announced 2 years ago. And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, but the other real motivation behind making an app like this is switching costs. See, Apple's gonna make a journal app, and they're hoping it's good enough that people start to use it, and a lot of people really like it, and some fraction of people love it so much that they would actually refuse to use a different phone. They would refuse to switch from an iPhone if they couldn't get that anywhere else. So when Google comes along and makes their journaling app for the Pixel, they're very directly offering an equivalent experience on the other side of the fence. So now someone who really likes journaling no longer has a reason why they couldn't switch. It turns out a very direct response to your competitor adding a feature or something that potentially creates some extra lock-in is to just do the same thing on your side of the fence in your own system. And the more of this event that you watch with this in mind, the more of it you very clearly see. Like you can think of Pixel Snap the same way, which is them adding these Qi 2 wireless chargers and magnets into the back of all their Pixel 10 phones. And I always thought that this would be in more phones. Like I always was shocked that there weren't more phones with Qi 2, especially because when you listen to iPhone people talk about MagSafe, they love it. Like people almost refuse to buy phones that don't have MagSafe now. see the comments of the iPhone 16e review. But there are some small limitations of the official Qi 2 support. The big one really was that it doesn't support the fastest charging speeds. So it's 15 to 25 watts with the latest edition. Not disastrously slow, but it does make sense why some of the other manufacturers like Oppo or OnePlus or Huawei wouldn't adopt it. They'd rather continue developing and leaning on their Super VOOC and Dash charging, which is super fast. It's one of their selling points with like 80, 100 watt wireless charging. Great. Here with the Pixel though, it actually makes perfect sense because they've never had the biggest numbers or the fastest charging speeds. The Pixel 9 only charged, I think, 12 watts on a Qi charger. So 15 to 25 is a big upgrade actually for wireless charging speeds. And now you get these magnets. You essentially added MagSafe to your phones with no downside. And yes, they have done more work with the array and the strength of the magnets and making their own accessories that attach really firmly to the back of the phone. So all of that extra work is sick. But if you zoom out enough, MagSafe was a reason people would resist switching from an iPhone to a Pixel. And now it's not. So many of the times that it looks like these companies are just copying each other, yeah, you gotta keep in mind that minimizing switching costs is a huge motivator to a lot of this stuff. They used to be in a battle for new customers, but there's just so much less of that now. Like most of the world already has a smartphone. So the real battle now is actually two things. It's kids and people getting their first smartphone, because once you get your first smartphone, you're likely to stick with that for a long time. And then switchers. Now, the last thing is you can't talk about switching costs in the US and normies in the US without talking about the biggest obstacle that Apple has set up, which is iMessage lock-in. I've talked about this before, and like every time I bring it up, a lot of you guys who are not in the US are like, this seems like the dumbest thing ever because that pressure does not exist outside of this place. But here, blue bubble pressure is so real. But Google did specifically try to talk about this in their event too. And this is how they decided to tackle it.
So we realized the idea of switching your phone brand can seem scary. It can even maybe be a little bit daunting. And so we've talked about and have tackled the top two concerns that people have when it comes to switching.
So we can stop talking about the green text versus the blue text?
Yes.
Or that?
Yes. And first of all, I'm going to say personally, the green-blue bubble battle is silly and it's tired. And at Google, we're done with that conversation.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I can't confirm this, but Andrew Edwards did say that they were showing applause signs to the audience who were there in person. Look, obviously, if it was up to Apple, they never would have adopted RCS, and they would love to keep their features as exclusive as possible in their little bubble. And then if you want to switch, you're leaving all these features behind. But now that Google's poking holes in that with interoperability and RCS, it's a little bit less of a bubble. I did make an entire video on blue bubbles versus green bubbles and that whole dynamic. So if you want to watch that, I'll link it right here or down below the like button. But don't think Apple has never tried this stuff either. Apple would love to entice Android users to come to their side of the fence. From the Move to iOS app that they built and put in the Play Store to the ad campaigns that they've run over the years, the newest Apple Intelligence feature that looks and acts a lot like that hit Circle to Search feature on Android, all of this stuff runs both ways. It's all in the name of competition. Something to think about. Anyway, stay tuned for the full Pixel 10 series phone reviews, and also the iPhones are right around the corner. It's about to be Techtember. There's a lot of interesting stuff in the pipeline. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Catch you very soon in the next one. Peace.